Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi. So, yeah. So, how are you doing? Did you guys go over the linear programming? You are given three problems. They are uploaded on the video and slides are uploaded on the web page. So, did you guys manage to go over them? Okay. Can you please again raise your hand or send a chat message if you have managed to go try to model the three problems, 3, 4, 5 problems. Okay.
I have tried fourth problem, but I have few doubts regarding this.
You start the fourth problem. You have
I mean the tower, cell phone tower problem.
okay.
Like it has to reach it in 1 kilometer radius.
Okay. So I kind of expected this response. So I am going to make you guys now work on them. Okay. So here is the problem. The problem. Sorry. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Here is the problem number 3. Please try to okay. So I am seeing that one person has told that one of you have not been able to model this third problem. But the rest of you who have not even tried, can you please spend 2 minutes to try to see if you can design uh, this problem as an LP or something like that? I mean, I'm giving you a couple of minutes. Please go think about it. And if you have some idea, you can raise your hand and I will then ask you to. So none of you have got any idea except Uddalok. Uddalok has raised his hand, but rest of you, no idea.
Sir, for student S1, whichever teacher he select, we think as them F1. If he choose F1 plus F1 and F2, we model is like F1 plus F2 less or equals to S1. similarly for the faculty list, and for the last one,
I mean,
that
why
will
are you
be
why are you modeling it as F1 plus F2 less than equal to S1?
lesser equals S1, since uh, mm, if we think it is as a plane, then
Okay, Shubir, I will let me maybe you are coming up. Okay, so I think this is what is happening to all of you. I will just give you a hint, but maybe let me hear from Uddalak first. Uddalak, do you have any idea? What was your idea?
Yes, I was thinking like I can have m vectors of binary vectors of size n, and which will correspond to like m professors will assign to will take n students. If he will be taking, then it will one, then it will be one, and otherwise it will be zero. And then I will be having another matrix of row
Okay,
of n
okay,
rows and
okay, okay, okay. Uddalak, I will stop you here again. Okay, so I am sure that so you guys are trying to solve it, okay, directly. Okay. Now, Manisha, do you have you want to say something? I think she just joined maybe. Okay. So I had asked you to model this problem as an LP, and couple of you have possibly managed to do that, and rest of you are struggling. The reason is that I actually did not tell you an intermediate step. I was hoping that you guys can do it. Okay. Intermediate step is, first of all, model this problem as a graph problem.
actually I was thinking of something related to graph also, some matching kind of
Exactly.
stuff.
Model this
Like,
one as a graph problem first, and then we will come to linear problem.
so what I was thinking is like if Professor M is bounded to take I number of students, then I will have I vertices of Professor M.
Okay, good. You have got some idea. You are correct. Excellent. Okay, so let me give the rest of you just 2 minutes. Okay. Don't try to directly go for linear program. Try to model this problem as a graph problem. There are
this
2-3
will be a
different ways of doing it.
bipartite graph.
I am not saying bipartite or non-bipartite. You think about it. You have some idea? Do you have some idea, or you are just asking me some questions?
No, sir. The forming graph will be done, but after that, what we'll do, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So what is the problem that is there in the graph as problem, right? The question is that you have to do something, right? So these instances right now he's talking about students and faculties and what have not and what things, right? Who wants choices and all. I want to forget all of it and think of this one as a graph, and I want to find, or I want to say that design an algorithm that finds some structure in that graph.
I was thinking like say student S1 has given a choice of faculties F1, F2, F3, F4, and S2 has given some other choices.
Yeah.
So this is like from S to F mapping, that from there we can find out F to S mapping. Hence, faculty F1 is a choice of both S1, S2 and S3 is this
Yeah.
student. Then faculty F2 is a choice of this student. And then we already have faculty's choices, like faculty F1 has S1, S2, S3 this student. These
Correct.
two, from these two lists for F1 we can take the common
Right.
one.
Exactly. Good.
And then that length of that common list should be less than equal to the length given by
No, hold on. The length
faculty.
is something you can talk about. Okay. Good. So let me
What
try
is
to,
a constant?
you are in the right direction and you are thinking in the right way. Okay. So let me try to help you out then. Okay. So you have this faculties, right? So you have the faculties. I mean, this is something similar to what? Oh God. Some charging. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So you have been given. You have been given what? You have been given that there are the faculties, and you have been given the students, and every faculty is given a choice of the students, right? Now, so that means I can draw, as somebody pointed out, a bipartite graph. Okay. Okay. Now see, let's see, bipartite graph with faculties F1, F2. I mean, they're numbered. Okay, faculty F3. What about it? F3, F4, and something like that. The other side is the students. Okay. Students. S1, S2, so on till say S. I forgot what was it, M or. Okay, so this is Fn and it's Fn. Now, say a student wants, so S1 wants faculty 1. So say in the choice, in the faculty 1 is in the set of choices. The C of S1 is the set of choices of the student 1, and F1 is part of it. That means student 1 wants to say that, okay, with faculty 1, I'm ready to go and I want to do a thesis, right? Fine, maybe, right? So in this choice that the students have given S1, right? The faculty 1 is there, okay? But as somebody pointed out, as Luna pointed out, that there is also the choice of the faculties, right? So what is the choice of the faculties? It is the set of the students whom a particular faculty 1 is willing to advise, right? So there are two cases that can happen. So if S1 is in this student, okay, so that means faculty 1 is also willing to do work with the student is also willing to work with the faculty, then I can draw an edge between S1 and F1. So this is a valid kind of an edge. Okay, but if S1 is not in the faculty of is not in the list of faculty, so it's like this: students won the particular. Just 1 second, I have to just give me 2 minutes. Hello, sorry, I had to go for some urgent thing that came. Someone came knocking on my door. Okay. So where was it? Yeah. So if it is the case that the student one is so student one wants to work with the faculty one, but the faculty one does not necessarily want to work with the student one, or the vice versa. That means there is no question of assigning the student one to a faculty one, right? So I can forget those. Okay. So I am going to use this notion to draw the edges. Okay, so let me draw some edges after that. Okay, so the input, therefore, I can think of is what? The set of choices is nothing but a set of edges. It's a bipartite graph. Okay, right? Any questions so far? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you
sir.
are.
Audible.
Okay, good. Yeah. So the only thing, so now see, let's see what all things have been taken care of in the graph. I have kind of taken care of all these kind of choices that are of interest to us. Okay. Right. So there are some choices that are there which are not of interest to us because they will not be useful. So I throw them out. And for the rest of them, I draw this graph which contains all the choices. The one thing that is not yet kind of taken care of is this thing, right? That each faculty has a bound number of students that can be assigned. So that means I can hear that for every faculty there is a bound, say N1, N2 to NN. So what is the problem? The problem is that I have to now find an assignment. So what does it assignment mean? Means I have to find so if this graph, if this is a graph which is the set of vertices and set of edges, right? And in fact, since it is a bipartite graph, I will think of this one as the set of faculty, students, and the set of edges. Okay, so this is the faculty set, this is student set, and the edges set. Now, my job, what do I want? Can I say somebody tell me what is it that we want from here? Swarnalipa, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you say
Yeah.
what things will we be needing from here?
If there is an age, I mean, we need to find if there is an age between what to say?
No, we don't have to find out whether there is an age. We want to
Okay.
find something else. What do you want to find? Think of it. Whether you can design what we want is to design an algorithm, forget the designing an algorithm, but what is it? And an assignment of the students to advisors so that everybody's constraints are satisfied. That means for every student, I want to assign an advisor.
Yes. Okay, but okay. So in that case, I mean, let's take F1 and S2. So S2 will be assigned to F1 because there is an age between F1 and S2. As because I mean both of them. I mean F1 also.
If S2, yeah, right. So if there's an age between S1 and S2, it means that S1 can be assigned to
Yes.
S2 can be assigned to F1.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it has to be done.
Okay. No.
Okay. So for example, I will give you an example. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe the faculty, so this faculty, first faculty, say maybe the N1 is just 1.
Acha. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something like, so this faculty is also N4 is also 1.
Okay.
Okay.
So in that case, if there is, I mean, there is some other student who has chosen faculty 1, and none of the faculty, and I mean, none of the other faculties agree on.
So say S5 wants only one faculty, and this is S4.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to give a. So this is not good. What do I mean? No. Sorry, I didn't want to mean that. Sorry, this is not what I wanted. I want to say this thing. Okay, so N2 is 1. Okay, and this is S4.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Okay.
S4 therefore wants S4 only wants F2.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
S1 is happy to do it with N1 or F2. Okay,
Yes.
so this is S4 wants to F2 and F2 says that only I only can take only one student. So it is natural that you have to assign S4 to F2.
Yes. Yes.
And once you assign S4 to F2, then S1 cannot be assigned to F2. Then S1 has to be assigned to F1.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
Okay.
S2 wanted F1, F2, or F3. Although there is an age, although there exists an age from S2 to F1, this
Yes.
instance says that you cannot assign
Okay.
S2 to
Okay.
F2. The
Okay.
only option therefore left is that S2 must be assigned to say F3.
F3.
So just because there is an age, that does not mean that you can assign.
So in that case, if I mean, check with the students, that is, I will see. Okay, so let's say let's take S1 first. Then I will go to F1. I mean,
I'm not asking for you an algorithm at this
okay, okay,
point. I'm asking what
okay.
is the structure that you are looking for in a graph, right? What does an assignment mean? Can you tell me? So I have told that find an assignment of students to advisors, so that everybody's constraints are satisfied. What is this statement mean
Okay, so
in terms of the graph?
yeah, so in that case, I will check the values of N1, N2, and so on, and then yeah. So in this case, since N1 is 1, I will check.
Again, you are going for an algorithm directly. Okay, don't try to go for an algorithm directly.
A spanning tree.
Somebody says spanning tree. No.
So matching.
What does an assignment mean? Let me start with this one. What does an assignment mean? If I say that, oh, see, here is an assignment, okay, that like S1 goes to F1, S4 goes to F2, S2 goes to S3, S3 also goes to F3. What does the assignment mean?
Function.
It means that I am choosing a set of edges,
Okay.
subset of edges, an assignment. So if I say that this particular S1 is mapped to F1, that means I'm choosing this edge, right? And if I say that, okay, so there is an assignment that says that, okay, assign F2 to S2, there is an assignment that says assign this to this. So I can say that, okay, this is an assignment. Say, what does it mean? It means that I am saying that I'm selecting a set of edges, right? And job is therefore to select. So an assignment is nothing but a set of edges. Once I have a set of edges, so I want to assignment means I have to. So what is an assignment? Okay, what is an assignment? Assignment of students to faculty. What is that? So this means a subset E tilde, which is subset of E, such that, okay, such that any property of that subset that is to be there.
Sir, here are we identifying components?
No, I'm not identifying components here.
Oh, okay.
We are not trying to identify components. Okay, so if I tell you, I mean, somebody has already pointed out a word. Okay, so let me start with that. Maybe that is, let's forget N1 to N, forget this whole thing. Okay, let's make our life slightly more simple. Okay, say that everyone's N1 is 1. Let's start with this. Every faculty says that I can take only at most one student. Then can you see something?
It is just a matching, right?
1-1 map.
1-1 what?
1-1 map
1-1
from
map.
student to teacher.
Acha, okay. Have you heard of anything called a 1-1 map in a graph, in a bipartite graph?
Perfect matching.
Sorry,
Perfect matching.
it's a perfect matching. Have you guys heard of perfect matching? I mean, I know there are some people who, I mean, people who took my discrete math course, they better know perfect matching or matching. People who did not take my discrete math course, like Shubir was person, right? Shubir, you took this CRS course, right?
Yes.
Was for matching done in your class?
No,
No,
sir.
sir. Actually. Perfect match section.
Forget perfect matching. Was matching done in your class?
No.
No, sir.
The whole concept of matching was not done in your discrete math course.
No.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Don't worry. You don't need to know. I mean, if you know matching, then the ideas should come up easily. But if you don't know it, that's okay, because we will tell what a matching is. Okay. So matching is basically, as somebody says, it's a mapping. Okay. It's a mapping of the sets on the left hand side to sets on the right hand side. By the way, I should ask here now. I mean, this is where things become very complicated. The people who took CRS discrete math course, did you do bipartite graphs?
Yes, sir.
You have done bipartite graphs.
Hmm.
I mean, anything about bipartite graphs that was done?
Not really much. Like it's just different.
Okay. I'm assuming that you have not been done, people have not done flows, right?
No. Like we ended with checking planarity of a graph. So there we use some in some condition we use some bipartiteness of some particular graph. That's it. And then on some reductions happen. Yeah.
You have done bipartiteness, but you have not done flow mapping.
No, we haven't. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, fine. So let me say whatever I wanted to say, and then you'll understand what is going on here. Okay. So, by the way, even if you don't know matching or any such thing, right? So this basically means that if I have a set of, think of just simple normal setting. Okay, you have a set of faculties in ISI. So there are say n faculties in ISI and m faculties in m students. Okay, and every faculty can take at most or at most one student. Okay, and there are m students who are who have given their choices. Okay, so you want to find a allotment, like assignment of every student to some faculty. And okay, this student go work with this person, this student work with this person, and so on. Right. So that means what am I trying to do? I'm trying to kind of choose a, so in this graph, I am actually trying to say that, okay, see, I want to assign this person to this person. So that means this is the age that I choose. And I mean this person to this person, so this is an age that I choose. Right? I assign this person to this person, this is an age that I choose. So I am choosing a subset of ages of the whole thing. Right? And one important fact that naturally comes out from anything is that, is it possible that can this be an assign, can this be a valid assignment? Hello?
No,
Why not?
one student is allocated to two faculties.
One student is allocated to two faculties, right? And that is something that is not possible, or that is not allowed, right? So that means I want to find a subset of the ages such that, okay. Also, another thing is that, is it possible that one student is not allocated at all? That is also not possible, right? Every student have to do a thesis. So that is for all student in the student set. Okay, fine. There exists an age SU, or basically not SU, maybe there exists an age V comma S in E tilde. And not only that, there exists a, what is this is called a, there exists a unique age. So, there exists at least one age, and there is not more than one age. Right? So every student has been assigned to exactly one faculty. This is the first important criteria. Right? So if you find, if you can find such a thing, okay, so if such a thing exists, then such a thing is called a matching. This is what is called a matching. Okay, matching. Okay. So actually you don't need this uniqueness. So a matching is something. Okay, maybe forget the matching thing. Let me not worry about it right now. Okay. So this is something that I am that is required, right? Okay. Now there is another important thing that is required. What is it? I told that every faculty can take at most one student. Right? So what does it mean? It means that for every faculty in the faculty space, there exists at most one S such that the faculty there is in E tilde. Now see, because this E tilde is a subset of E, so that means I know that this S is in, so S is indeed in the choice of, I mean, is in the, I mean, the faculty F is willing to take student S. So that means you are finding a set of ages where every student has only one age as connected to it, and every faculty also have exactly one age connected to it. Okay, so such a thing is called a matching. Such a thing. So okay, this is called a matching. Now, if I forget this uniqueness, that means, yeah, it may be that not uniqueness. If I forget that, I mean, there exists at most, right? So instead of that, if I just say that, if I forget that there exists thing, okay, I can make it that, okay, maybe I can allocate some students to some faculty, but that's it. So I don't necessarily guarantee that every student gets the faculty. So in that case, I am basically choosing a set of ages, subset of ages, where every student or faculty has at most one age connected to it, right? So that is called a matching. Now here we want something else, right? Here we want that every student here has at least one age, not at most, but at least. Okay, in fact, exactly one age. So such a thing is called a perfect matching with respect to the side students S. So it is a matching, that is a perfect matching with student S. And even if you want that every faculty also gets one student, then you can write it as perfect matching with respect to F side. And if both of them are satisfied, then you have overall perfect match. But the main idea is that you have this graph, okay, and your job is to find students, find a matching which satisfies find a matching that is perfect for the set F. Is this fine? Is this clear? Now I know that there, I mean, at least let me ask my, so Luna, is it fine?
Yes, sir, it is fine, but this is a graph problem.
Yeah. How do we go back to a linear programming program, right?
Yes, yes.
So that will come to that. Okay. Let's first write it in the graph problem. Swarnalipa, is it fine?
Yes, sir.
It's fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see some people who are not from my old place. Shiva Kumar,
It's fine.
it's fine.
I mean,
So you see that how this problem, at least when n1 equals to 1 and so on, right? So this can be converted to a graph problem, right?
yeah, I know matchings prior to this. Yeah,
Sorry.
I
Can you just
know about matchings prior to this. Since
you
you
know
asked
matching
only
prior to-
about the course, since you asked only about the course, I told you that
Okay, very
it
good.
is not done.
Okay, so okay, fine. Shubhi,
I think some of my friends in CRS also knows about matchings. I'm not sure, but yeah.
okay. So who are the people from CRS? I mean, is there anybody else who? How do I find? Manisha Panda, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you? So you were from CRS, right?
Yes, sir.
So could you follow what happened here?
Yes, sir. I could, sir.
Okay. So did you know about matching earlier?
No, sir.
Okay. You don't need to know about matching, actually speaking. Okay. But it is important that we kind of write it. I mean, whatever it is, seeing it in terms of a graph is quite simple. Okay. Now, okay. So basically, okay. So,
Sir, basically here we are finding a function from S to like student set to, and
exactly.
I think there is a relation between function and matching.
There is a relation between function and matching. You are completely right. Okay. I
Okay.
mean, except that, I mean, it's a mapping, right? It's a function. Is a matching is also, you can think of it a mapping. If it is a perfect
Okay.
in one side, so this is perfect in this side. So this is a function from the S to F. Okay, does that okay? S should be allocated to only one of the should be. I mean, F of sorry. I mean, the S1 here should go to only those things where there is an H, right? Fine, and you also need to know that it is a kind of a one-to-one, or yeah, it's a one-to-one. Okay, so that means no two of them can go to the same place. Okay, so if you want to think of it in the matching in this function world, this basically says that you want to find a one-to-one function mapping from S to F that satisfies this graph structure.
Okay.
Okay. So since you guys are already a bit confused, so I'm not going to talk about this general n's. Okay. So let me just for now on just assume that the problem. So in this problem that is there, I'm going to forget all of them. Okay. So we'll just say that each faculty can take at most one student. Okay. What happens if the faculty is allowed to take more than one student? That you can think separately. Okay, so I'm just changing this problem, I'm making the problem slightly easier, so saying that every faculty must take at most one student. Okay, so this problem, okay, so problem of assigning students to faculty can be modeled as a matching problem. Okay, what does matching problem mean? Matching problem means that given a graph, now I'm forgetting everything. Okay, I'm just saying it that there is a graph, bipartite graph A, B, and E. Okay, my job is to find a matching M, which is a subset of E, such that for all A in A, there exists at most one B with A comma B in the M, and for all B in B, there exists unique. Okay. So forget the unique. Yeah, let there be unique part. Okay, actually, if I don't remove that unique, if I don't have the unique part, then that's a normal matching. Okay, so at most one B, such that again A B is in M. Okay, now if you replace this particular thing with exactly, then you get our result, and if you have this is at most, you get this matching problem. Okay, everybody with me on this problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the last one would be A. There is at most one A.
Oh, there is at most one A. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. How do I write it as a graph problem? Sorry, as a linear programming problem. Now you see why writing it as a graph problem helps us a lot. Okay. Do you guys want to go for a shot? Could take a shot at this? Let me give you a couple of minutes. Okay. Why don't you go and try to write this problem as a graph problem? Sorry, as a in linear programming problem. Okay, I'm giving you 2 minutes to think about it. If somebody gets some idea, you can just raise your hand. Yes, Aditya, you have some idea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are my variables?
Sir, I have taken the variables like X subscript AB, where sir A belongs to capital A and B belongs to capital B. For each of the pair, I am taking one variable.
Each of the pair.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, okay, fine, good. And then what do you do?
Sir, now my objective function is the summation of all the variables. Like sir means x11, x12, x21, x22, like up to xmn.
Okay.
The summation of all these. And sir, constraint is that sir, like
no, I mean, okay, so forget that. If I say that x12 is 1, what does that mean for you? What will that mean for you?
Sir, if x2 is 1, then the
x12 is 1, then
x12 is 1. Okay.
Then
Sir, then the first faculty means the second student is assigned to the first faculty.
But if the second student doesn't want to get assigned to the first faculty, then
Can you please repeat? I didn't get.
if the second student doesn't want to get assigned to the first faculty, if the first faculty is not even in the choice of the student for the second student, then
So, sir, I will make those variables as 0.
and what are those variables at that 0? You don't even need those variables, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. So what you are saying is that for every, okay, so now let's write this one, okay? So what you do is that for every, not for pair, but for every age uv in the H set, I'm only interested in the H set things, right? You define a variable xe, right? And once you have that, then what do? What are these two constraints? Let's see, what are these constraints here? This constraint says that out of a particular faculty, not more than one age or one student can be assigned, or one age can go out, right? So that means my constraint is summation, okay, so constraints, okay? These are the constraints. Okay, first of all, maybe I should write this one. I have a lot of constraints. I should look at what is xc. So xc should be either 0 or 1. Okay, so it is becoming an integer linear program, not a directly a linear program. Xc can take either 0 or 1. 0 means that the age E is in my not in my matching. 1 means the age E is in my matching. Okay, and I have to kind of also have the constraint that from any particular vertex, right, from particular vertex in A, there is at most one B, right? So summation of x uv, okay, summation over all possible v, summation over all possible v such that uv is in E. Okay, so this must be less than 1, and this should be true for all possible u in A. For take any vertex in the A, look at all the edges that goes out of this vertex u, sum over all the edges that goes out of that, these variables, at most one of them must be assigned to 1. So that means summation of them has to be less than or equal to 1. Okay. Similarly, the other direction. For all v in B, xuv is less than or 1, but sum over all u such that again uv is right. So if I can satisfy, if I can find out an assignment that satisfies these three conditions, then what do I do? Whenever I have x equals to 0, I will not take it. Whenever x equals to 1, I will take it in my thing, and this gives me a matching. Right? Okay. Now I can try to make this one at most, and if I want to try to make it at most, I can try to say that okay, I want to make it at most. I will make this one say 1. Exactly one of them is assigned. Okay. Now what am I maximizing? You can maximize anything. Who cares about it? Okay. You can maximize even a constant function. Maximize 1. So what happens? So this is a linear program that says that, okay, if these constraints are satisfied, then output the maximum value of this quantity out of all of them. If the constraints are not satisfied, then the constraints are not satisfied. Then you don't maximum of A is the kind of a vacuous statement, so you don't output anything. Okay, if you want, you can write something else. If you want, okay, so as somebody else pointed out, you can write maximum summation of xc. So in fact, if you have this one to be less than or equal to 1 and maximize summation of xc, so this is like the maximum matching that you can find in a bipartite graph. So this basically says that it is a matching on the, which is matching on the left hand side. It is a matching on the right hand side. This says that, okay, this is 1 and 0, and this is the max. You are trying to maximize the number of edges that I am choosing. So this one, therefore, is a LP or ILP rather for the matching problem.
Can you explain the constraint again?
Sorry,
Can you explain the constraint again?
these constraints.
Mhm.
Okay, so okay, first of all, let me ask you whether you have understood the constraints of a matching. That is important. What is a matching? Can you tell me?
Oh, matching is okay. Matching is a subset of edges such that there is
that?
so bit what is that? Yeah. Okay, it is a bipartite graph where every degree of the vertex is at most 1.
Every degree of the vertex is at most 1, right? So
Yeah.
which basically, or in other words, you can say that where every vertex in the left hand side has at most 1 edge adjacent to the matching edges, right?
Hmm.
And for everything in the right, there is at most 1 edge assigned to this matching edges.
Yeah.
Right. So I am trying to identify this matching, which is a subset of the edges.
Yeah.
How am I doing it? By putting for each of the edge value, for each of the element edge in this edge set, I am putting a variable xc.
Yeah, that is 0 or 1.
That is 0 or 1, right? So that means
Yeah.
this is 0 or 1, and that says that, okay, so this is the so this will decide the which of sets is chosen in the matching or not. Right?
Yeah.
Now fixed an element. Okay, so this is an element in the left hand side. Okay, the u. What is this quantity?
Okay, you're trying to find the degree of the. Okay, fine.
This is exactly the degree of u in this selected set of edges.
Yeah.
Right, and the degree must be less than or equal to 1.
Yeah, that is understood. I missed some part of it.
Okay. Yeah, Luna, you wanted to say something?
Sir, I was saying that it's possible to merge these two constraints into only one, right?
Yeah, you can. I mean, if I mean, that is possible, of course. But again, this is not something. I mean, that is just a writing thing. Okay.
Yes.
Because you have to end up writing. So this is not one constant. You realize that. This is one constant for every u, right? In A. So this is actually size of A number of constraints. And this is actually size of B number of constraints.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm writing it in a way that it looks like it's a one constant, but it's not one constant. Okay. But you see now it is much easier, right? To go from this graph model to this thing than going straight from the student faculty problem to a linear program. I mean, this kind of a stepping on the graph model to write it as a linear programming or something, that is a extremely important concept. Okay. Swarnalipa, you told that you tried to write this LP for this problem, right?
Yes, sir.
So now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. Okay. So now, of course, it is not yet completely done. Okay. Okay. So now, can somebody say what happens in this case of, if I may ask, what happens if I put now I put back this ni? Can you write it in some other way?
Just second set of constants changes. I mean, here
Exactly. Now you see, and things are very obvious, right? What I want then will be like, okay, I want every student. Okay, so maybe for every student size. So if I erase this part and say, so maybe this is the faculty and this is the student, right? So for every student, you have to be assigned to at most one thing. Very good. In fact, it has to be assigned to, I can write, if you want to write it, you can write it as assigned to exactly one person. And here, for every faculty, you have to be assigned how many? It would be n of
you
q number of students. Okay. So basically, if you think of it here, what was happening here is that we are asking whether there is a assignment or a matching kind of stuff, which is by perfect on this side and it is not a matching on this side, but every element has a degree at most some ni. Right? And this is what is coming out here. So there is this whole concept of flow that is some big part of a generalization of matching. Okay, if you guys people who did my discrete math course, please recall flows. Okay, and try to write the flows as a LP. Okay, and you will see some pretty nice things that will coming up. Okay, and yeah. Okay, now another thing that why I wanted to talk about this particular here problem is that in this problem, see, this is not an LP, this is an ILP, right? Even the matching thing is an ILP. So if you therefore convert it to an LP and solve it, so if you convert it to the ILP, it doesn't become polynomial time. Okay. But that does not mean that this problem, the matching, so matching can be modeled as an ILP. Okay, but that doesn't mean, so ILP is not, ILP does not have polytime algorithm. ILP, say, you can, for now let's assume that does not have polynomial time algorithm. So that doesn't, so that means if you convert a matching to an ILP, you don't necessarily know how to solve and solve the matching in ILP in polynomial time. But this is something that's important here, that matching, there exists matching has polytime algorithm. Now, this is again something that was kind of done in the last course in discrete math, at least for the people who have done discrete math with me. Okay, and I will just going to say 2 lines about it. Yeah,
Did you do Gale-Shapley algorithm there?
Gale Shapley. There's nothing to do with Gale Shapley or any such things here.
Why? Okay.
There's no Gale Shapley. Gale Shapley is a much more complicated stuff.
Okay.
But for people who remember, let me ask some person. Uttalok, do you remember? Can you say how can matching be done in polytime? Do you have any idea? I want to see what if you remember anything from the other.
I don't know, sir. I can't.
Huh?
I can't remember.
You can't remember.
No, no, no.
So matching is a special case of max flow. Okay, if you don't remember, recall that. And for max flow, we have done a theorem. At least do you remember that one?
Yeah, maximum input.
Max flow min cut theorem. Okay, we had done that for max flow, there is something called a max flow min cut theorem. Okay. Now there was a proof of the max flow min cut theorem, and that proof was a combinatorial proof, but it is important to notice that that proof, however was done, that can be converted to a polytime algorithm. I'm not going to talk about that here. It's called the Ford-Fulkerson algorithm. Now, this is another problem that I want you guys, all of you, to go and think about it and work out it. Okay. So matching is something that is an extremely important theorem problem in graph theory, in many other fields that can be reduced to matching. Okay, so just like we talked about among the big important theorems here, right? We talked about LP, we talked about ILP, the two big things, right? Then there is also another called a matching. This matching is a graph theory problem. Okay, meaning graph algorithm problem. But it is another of those kind of a central problems that many problems reduces to matching. Many problem can be formulated as a matching problem. And there is also this other thing that many problem can be written as a max flow problem. Even matching can be written as a max flow problem. And one thing to note is that all these three things has polytime algorithm. Okay. In fact, max flow can actually be, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it. Max flow can be written as an LP very easily, and you can write to the polytime algorithm. Matching is a bit more tricky, so I will let you guys to think about it, what happens, and you can do this max polytime algorithm. But the important thing is that there are many problems that you will be getting which has to be reduced to some LP problem or a matching problem or a max flow problem. Note that we have not done any of them in details in this course. Okay, I have not given you a polytime algorithm for matching or a polytime algorithm for max flow or a polytime algorithm for LP. But what I'm teaching you, which is a part of this course, is that many problems can be written as is an instance of this. Okay, and this is something that you should practice and learn, and this will be there. This will be something that I will in fact test you on your NSEM also quite a lot about reduction, modeling a problem into this set problem. Okay, you can assume for now that all these three things has polytime algorithm. And actually speaking, they not only have polytime algorithm, they have beautiful algorithms that are very fast in very nice packages are available in the yeah, in any kind of programming things and all. Reduce something to LP, reduce something to matching, and reduce something to reduce something to max flow, and you're done. Now, on the other hand, there is ILP problem. An ILP problem, okay, is not believed to be polytime. So I will even go ahead and say that it's not polytime. Although this is not actually correct, whatever I told, I will rectify it in the next class. But you can think that this is not polytime. Okay. Many graph problems. So now when you have to reduce problems to, when you have to reduce a problem to an ILP, or when you have to model a problem into ILP, an important trick is to first reduce it to a graph problem. And once you reduce it to a graph problem, after that you reduce it to an ILP problem. That is much more easy to visualize. That is exactly the reason why we learn graph theory, why we so much focus on graph algorithm. Okay, so write a problem as a graph problem, model it as a graph problem, and once you are done, you can model it as a ILP problem. In fact, the other two problems that are there here, the telephone tower problem and the scheduling problem, I again request you guys to go and try out both of them. Okay, so there will be the tutorials on this on this Saturday and on Monday. Even in those two tutorials, we will be doing exactly this thing. Okay, the hint for them is that writing this problem as an ILP problem or a LP problem, but going directly from here to the ILP or LP is actually very complicated. It is hard to visualize it, just like it was hard for this problem also. But if you write it as a graph problem, okay, and then you write that graph problem as an ILP problem, that is much easier, just like what happened in this case. Okay, so there are this kind of problems, and this is exactly where we will be going next. We have this ILP problem, this integer linear programming, and there are other problems. There's another problem, what is called a problem called satisfiability. There is a problem called SAT. And now there is also lots and lots of other problems that are actually known to be equal hardness as ILP. Okay. In the next class, I will be talking a bit more of SAT, reducing problems to SAT. Okay. And there are lots and lots of other problems. I will also define some of them. Okay. And this set of problems are all of the similar hardness. Okay. But of course, one cannot keep on writing packages for infinite collection of problems, right? So in the real life, mostly this ILP and this SAT are two particular problems for which very nice algorithms have been written. Or I will not call them as algorithms, they are more like an heuristic algorithm, but nice packages have been written. Note that they are not polytime, but they, so ILP and SAT, they are not polytime, meaning no algorithm is there, not polytime. What does it mean? Means that there exist problem instances such that the worst case running time for any algorithm, I have told something wrong here. Okay. So for any, I should write here, for any algorithm A for ILP. So if somebody comes up and says, oh, here is an algorithm that works for ILP, there exist problem instances. So there are, I can give you problem instances. I can give you a particular instance of the ILP problem such that the worst case runtime of A on that instance is not polytime. Okay, so meaning somebody comes up and gives you an algorithm. Wow, here is an algorithm for solving ILP. That does, I am saying that that is not a polytime algorithm. What it means is that I can give you, if I am the adversary, okay, then I can give you a hard instance which the algorithm will not be able to solve. But, and this is something you should kind of remember here, but there are heuristics algorithm. So why I am running a heuristic algorithm? So they don't come with any particular heuristic algorithms, algorithms which don't come with particular proof of things. Like nobody is saying that this algorithm will stop after some time and so on. It's something like, yeah, it's kind of a greedy algorithm. You do some kind of a greedy stuff and something, and yeah, let's hope that everything is fine. Okay, there's no proof of correctness and all. But there is a, but for now here I should kind of write here, okay, for most real life applications, now whatever is most real life application, something that is not classified properly. But for, you can think of it that for most of the time when it is used, okay, for most real life applications, the algorithm runs very fast, or that means here I mean in polytime. Okay, so this is something that I am going to be stressing more on this one in the next class. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is that there are algorithms like LP matching and Maxflow that are known to be polytime. There are polytime algorithms, beautiful programs that run in polytime. If you can reduce your problem to any one of them, you're done. If your problem is not, you can reduce the problem only to this set of problems, ILP, and there's some other things like SAT and all, then it is not a polytime algorithm. That doesn't have polytime algorithm. Meaning that anybody comes up and says that, oh, here is an algorithm that works for ILP, gives a very quick algorithm after for ILP, that person most likely is saying wrong. Okay, you can come up with problem instances where the worst case runtime is not polytime. But somehow, if you run them on something like a real life application problem, then these algorithms run very fast. Now, this is something very, very important. I mean, there are people from CRS, crypto, and all those kind of stuff are there. See, I mean, many times so there's a theoretician's view of the world in which a theoretician will solve it in a very perfect way and so on. But a practitioner's view is not like, I don't care about the algorithm, I just want the answer. So you give me a problem, I will write it as an ILP problem, and I will run the program. If it gives me an answer in a reasonable amount of time, I get an answer. How does it matter? Right? So that is where things are. Nowadays, many times, whenever you go to the internet, do some searching, do some use some credit cards and all, many times, okay, in the background, there are these ILP solvers or SAT solvers that are running, and they somehow manage to work with. Okay, so you might be a bit confused whatever I have told just now. Don't be. I will formalize it in the next class even more. But whatever we are going into, is a bit of a, I mean, you have to go. So from the now on, from the next 2 weeks, or at least from the next week, we will be talking a little bit away from designing algorithms. We will be talking about reductions and talking about who can be, I mean, which one can be easy to solve, which is hard to solve, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the important thing of this week was reduction. Okay, how do you reduce a problem to something else? We have seen how to reduce problems to LP, either directly or via some graph theory concepts. And once you are done, right? Because LP matching and all, they can be in polytime. On the other hand, there are problems which we could analyze in LP. So I will ask you to please go and try to reduce this problem 4 and problem 5, okay, as an ILP problem. Any questions?
Sir, actually, there are some problem in my net. I couldn't hear. Can you please repeat what is SAT problem? Is it?
I have not told SAT problem. I will define it formally in next class. Okay, SAT problem is another something like a crucial central problem like IL.
Okay, sir.
For now, you just know about this. I will explain it in the next class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Any other question?
So for the fourth problem, I tried to model it
Sorry.
like for the fourth problem.
Yes.
I tried to model it like finding some the card vertices in forming a graph, finding some card vertices, like the card vertices will, if a tower is in a card vertex, then I have to keep it inside the graph. Otherwise, I can take it out. So by
I don't think
this,
I don't understand what you mean by card vertex. Card vertex is about connectivity. Okay. Connectivity within a graph. Now, question is that what is the graph that we have drawn?
okay, if a location is within 1 kilometer from
Okay,
a
very
tower.
good. So that is the graph. Then I say that the card vertex concept is not the what that you want to look at. Okay. In the connectivity issue, the card vertex concept is not what you should look at. I can give you a hint here. Okay, this also comes from the graph thing from graph theory. This has something to do with coloring, vertex coloring. Okay. Or vertex cover. Vertex cover, vertex coloring. Okay. Actually, it is something to do with vertex cover, not vertex coloring. Sorry. What is vertex cover? If you don't know, search it in the internet. Okay. So I will be kind of not be talking about these two problems neither today nor in the next class. Okay. I will leave these problems for the TS to discuss with you guys. They will give you a formal proof of both of them. I'm not formal proof, meaning formal reduction from how to this to LP. Fine, but it's very important that you guys try to do it yourselves before somebody else comes in and gives it. Okay, any other question?
No.
Yeah. Okay, if you don't have questions, so let's stop here now. We will meet again on Tuesday. Okay.